Hi everyone, Evgeny is back with you and I welcome you to the new video of the series about Spring AI. And what's the topic of today's video? Well, today we are looking at different ways how you can start using your own data in LLM, and specifically we will touch stuffing the prompt technique. So what's that in very short? Just in general, why we have this problem? We know that all the LLMs, they have limitations. And that's clear why, right? Because first, when LLM is trained, first of all, only public data is used. So you don't have any privacy here, no corporate data. You cannot reuse something specific to your domain, for example. And another problem that you always have the limitation by time. So the public data set is always up to a certain date. So after this date, LLM has no idea about what's happening and it cannot answer your questions. So talking about using your own data, there are different techniques. Like here you can see today we are talking about stuffing the prompt. Then you can use RAG or retrieval argument generation, then function calling, and the most expensive thing, you can fine-tune your own model. But those are the different methods from the simplest to the more complex. And today we are talking about stuffing the prompt. So what's that? In general, this is the way how you can provide all the missing or necessary information directly through the prompts. And if you take a look at how it works, so it's this one. For example, you have a request, like based on the following policy document, what are return conditions? And this is a very general information, and theoretically LLM can help you here, but what is returning policy? It could be something, your really private corporate data, for example, a specific website is not clear. So when you're using stuffing the prompt, what's happening, you are taking this specific information and you feed it into the context, into the prompt, and send to LLM. And so LLM knows the correct answer. So this is the core of this technique. And as everything in our life, stuffing the prompt has its pluses and minuses, right? So what are the benefits? First, immediate context, which means that you don't have to retrain your LLM, for example. You don't have to organize different complex way of fetching data from databases. You have the information, you feed it immediately to the prompt, and it's there immediately. Well, then flexibility, right? It's very dynamic. You can play with it. If something is not working the correct way, it's very easy to fix it, to change the thing that you're injecting, feeding the data, and it's there immediately. And it's very simple talking about implementation, because when you're talking about RAG, for example, function calling, you have to do something very specifically, not talking about fine-tuning model. And with this stuffing the prompt, it's pretty simple. It's straightforward. You just put some additional information, that LLM takes care of that. And custom results. So, well, again, it gives you some freedom of the output you want to see, and it's very easy to fine-tune it if something goes wrong. And talking about drawbacks or minuses, probably the main big drawback here is prompt size limits and costs, because since you are injecting your additional information to the request, you have the limitation of prompt size, and it's not only the amount you are sending to LLM, just because remember the window size, the context size, it's also with the output from the LLM, so you have something on top, and you should pass all this very long text. For example, it's not possible, right, to put all your hard disk drive data to the prompt. It just does not fit to this. So this is the first thing. And costs, because since you are sending a lot of tokens all the time, you have to pay for that, and this is really pricey thing. So this is really big drawback. And the second one is manual effort. So you have to think about that, because who can guarantee that this data is correct, right? It's very easy to confuse the LLM and you get the really wrong response. And this is related to risk of overloading as well, but it's a different thing. So you can provide the wrong data, and this is a manual effort, so the output will be wrong as well. Or if you can confuse with different maybe contradictive instructions, and then the output also is not predictable at all. So this is the minus. And the last one was static nature. So this is about, just imagine you have this data prepared, but it's pretty static, right? If you're talking about function calling, for example, you can make a network call to internet and fetch real life data, or talking about RAG, for example, you're also grabbing something from database, and it's different techniques that it's up to date. But here it's everything's pretty static, so you have to think about and remember about that. So those are benefits and drawbacks. And well, let's just go and see how you can implement this stuff in the prompt using Spring AI framework. All right, in this session we are checking how to work with stuffing the prompt, and today I'm going to use IntelliJ IDEA. So it's not Windsurf editor as it was last time. And why? Well, because I'm still judging, I'm still looking at different tools and trying to understand what's better for me personally. And so I'm trying to perform the same tasks in different environments and see what's better for me. So I will be using IntelliJ IDEA, but still from Codium, I will be using Codium Chat for simplifying some things with AI help. All right, what do we have here? I prepared already some stuff, so we are not wasting time on that. And let's go through it. First, we have QA prompt, and this is ST, so this is a template. It's here, and I will read it aloud so you can follow. Refer to the provided context below to answer the question that follows. And if the answer is not clear from the context, then simply state that you don't know, so avoid any guessing. And then we have a placeholder for context, and this is the part where we will be using our stuffing thing. And then we're expecting a question from the user and another placeholder with question tag, and we are trying to send the LLM to the right direction, offering how to start the auto-completion. So we're saying helpful answer is, and then we're expecting that LLM will continue this. So this is the prompt we are going to use in this session, and I prepared another document, and this represents the domain knowledge specifics which our LLM doesn't know. It's return policy txt. Well, it's pretty simple and straightforward just for demonstration purposes, but just imagine if you're creating a product and you have very detailed return policy document, which even hard to read and understand. Well, then you put it here. It should not be txt, it could be other formats that your LLM understands, but for simplicity we have only 4 points here, and I'm not going to read it through. I don't care about them. This is something which comes from the company. All right, let's try to reuse this stuff and see how stuffing the prompt works. In the previous sessions, we were using this AI controller, and we do have a lot of methods already from previous sessions, so maybe it would be a better approach if we create a standalone controller that would be responsible specifically for stuffing the prompt. And this is something where I'm going to ask for help of this Codium chat. So what I'm saying here, because I don't know how to make it bigger, and probably it's hard to read for you, I'm asking to create a definition for another controller, taking the AI controller, which we have here as an example, and this controller should have a single post implementation of single post request with the name stuff prompt, and I want to create the empty body of this function, and the function should return simple string. All right, this thing doesn't know how to create files, so I'm going to do this manually. And this is my personal learning curve, like what's possible, what's not. But I'm going to copy paste all the content from here to there. So what else do we need here? We want to provide some parameters. That's clear from the prompt itself, right? Because the question, it comes from the user. This will be the first parameter, and the second one, let's implement a trigger. So is the context is here or not? So we can, finally we can see the difference if you do the stuffing or if you don't. And for that, let's create a new object. And this should have a question. And the switch. And now we have to add this newly created record as a request body of this endpoint. All right. Okay, before we continue, let's create an HTTP example of the call so we can test it in the future. And for this, I'm going to go to chat mode. How can I refer methods here? Well, I will then copy paste it. Okay, let's copy paste this. And here for the question, since we are working with return policy, what is the meaning of life? Well, it's not a valid question at all, right? Let's write something more realistic. Alright, seems we are ready to ultimately, starting working on our implementation for the endpoint. So what should we do here? This is exactly the same thing which we were doing in the past in the previous sessions, working with chat client, creating prompts, templates. So we know the technique, right? We only trying to apply this technique we learned already to this new concept for stuffing the prompt. So first, let's create a prompt template. And this one takes a resource because we have our template in a separate standalone file, and so we have to load resource first. I'm going to just copy paste it. So we have a very similar approach. Well, what's that? I don't get it. No. This is the thing I wanted to do, but so now having prompt template, we have to create a prompt, and doing this we are using template dot create, and we'll use map. And here in the map we have, as you might remember already, we have a question. It already tries to propose something, and we have, please enable stuffing. Yeah, that's right. No, that's not right. Sorry. We have context. So what we are doing here, we either provide any context here or we don't provide anything. And for context itself, it's also another resource which we have to load again. So let's do this here. Doesn't take what I need, right? Okay, let me just type it. So what we are doing here, based on the trigger, if stuffing is enabled, if so, then we send the return policy, otherwise we do nothing here. And this one, well, that's interesting. This shortcut doesn't work. Okay, so we have prompt here. And now, since we have prompt, we can use it in the chat client and make a call and then get the response from LLM and show it. Well, it offers already something here. I'm curious what happens. Okay, chat client is not known. Yeah, cool. Let's take chat client. We also have to initialize it somehow, and we're doing this using Lombok. So this was providing a new constructor. So it seems ready. It was pretty straightforward, right? It's everything. There is nothing new you didn't know before. It's everything here. You know it already. So we are ready. Let's test it. And for that, we're going to reuse the HTTP call we created previously. And the first call we are doing is disabled stuffing. So there is no additional information about returning policy. And we are firing the question, what is the return policy for damaged products? So, well, what should LLM answer you without having concrete data? Because it's definitely not in a trained model, right? Well, and the answer is pretty simple and straightforward. I don't know. And now let's try to inject the returning policy and provide it as part of request. And for doing so, we are enable the stuffing and repeat the same call again. All right, and now answer is a bit more concrete, right? Because the LLM has some background and it can return you some details like, for example, that your products can be returned within 30 days of purchase. You have to provide some proofs that you did the purchasement, and you have to provide some label for shipping, etc., etc., etc. So it's much more concrete. All right, that was stuff in the prompt using Spring AI, and I think you have better understanding now. In the future sessions, we are going to take a look at the RAG concept. We're going to check how function calling is working. Well, we are not going to fine-tune the models because it's a really complicated process and it has nothing related to Spring AI at all. But anyway, these are the methods you can use to load to the LLM your own data, and stuffing the prompt is the simplest one. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting, you learned something, and it was Evgeny. Thank you and see you next time. Bye bye.